On today's episode, we're talking no shade. It's a conversation on colorism and the effects of colorism with our inner community and outside of our community. We invite our resident DEI expert in, Darlene King-Turner from sJourney, to give us the facts about colorism and to talk about equality and equity. On this episode, we breaking it all down, breaking all the rules and just keeping it real. This is Every Woman.
The most beautifulest thing in this world, gender revealed, hot damn, it's a girl. And we move with intention. If you don't come correct, no, we don't listen. We on a mission, did I mention? Cooking greatness, baby, we in the kitchen. In different dimensions, the energy shifting. Quite befitting, vibrations lifting. From corporate to the courtroom, we can afford to walk in our standards, then abort you. We ain't birthing no disrespect. Everybody gotta come correct. We talking gross and net. Baby, I flip coins and checks. Baby, I keep heels on neck, stunting season. And I don't need a reason to stunt, cause I always get what I want.
Welcome to Every Woman Wednesday. I am your co-host, Tam Flake, aka I Rock It Ball. Thank you for joining us today. My beautiful co-host along here with me. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
All right. So today we're having a pretty solid discussion on serious discussion on colorism and the topic of equality and diversity, equity, inclusion. So we got a great show today, and I'm looking forward to that discussion. But let's talk about something else before we get into that. Somewhat of ancestry and DNA. Have any of y'all ever had your ancestry DNA test done? I personally have not.
I have not.
Okay. I'm a little nervous to get it done. And Lauren, you have? Tell us what you found out.
Okay, so first,
and why'd you do it?
Here's why I did it. So I've always grown up in a predominantly African American neighborhood. School and everything, and people used to call me, white girl, and I'm like, no, I'm black, and so when I became an adult and I found out that we had access to things like that, I was like, I cannot wait once for all in my spirit to tell y'all, you know what, I'm 99% black. So, so I ended up taking the test, and honestly, the results were so shocking because it's almost like, once you find out the truth, you might have like a whole what is that, identity crisis? Mm-hmm. Like, hold on, wait, what? So let me tell y'all what the results. First of all, what do y'all think the results are? If you percentage of like European, African, like what would y'all say?
I would give you a higher percentage of European.
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah, I would.
Well, I don't know.
You definitely got the mixed thing going.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't want to be canceled, as you say.
So, mostly everybody in my family is African American. My grandmother was Polish, right? So in my mind, the math is, okay, you were like 90% black. Right. Just your grandma was Polish. Everybody else appears to be African American. So my DNA said that I was 50% African American, 45% European, 5% Chinese.
Wow.
When I say I see that part.
I don't, let me tell y'all, I'm like, y'all are right. I am whatever. But in my mind, I swear, I'm like, no, I'm like 90% black, y'all. But anyway, so what's cool is with the DNA, they break down the percentage of Nigerian, 20%, Mali, 13%. They talk about the European side, France, 4, Ireland, 4, Norway.
So this is essentially where your people are from.
Yes.
Okay.
Scotland.
In your lineage.
Did I say France? Yeah. Senegal. German. They talk about all the percentages of it. But what's cool about this is as they continue to do more research and find out the origins and how people move to different territories, they update your percentages. And so the more they update it,
It
more
continues.
European.
So it keeps changing.
It keeps changing because they're constantly making advancements, because sometimes it's hard to pinpoint, like, you're from this space, but these people came from this place first, then migrated here. So really, as they learn more, they find out that, oh, you're not this, you're actually this. I mean, I don't know how 100% accurate it is, but it was very interesting. I finally did see Polish on here because I didn't see it the first time. And I'm like, I'm not Polish, I'm not my grandma's grandkid, you know, but yes, it's on here now. So yeah, it was definitely life-changing for me. I know it sounds like a small thing, but like,
did you have the identity crisis after you got to work?
It was like a day, 24 hours. I was like, wait a minute. So how's the math going down like this? How am I? Not that I have anything against. It's just if you're raised a certain way and you think you're something, and then your DNA says you can think you're this, but guess what? You're this too.
So it's been clarified.
It's been clear. I'm good now. I mean, most people think I'm Puerto Rican or some type of Latina, something like that. So I just, I enjoyed, you know.
Maybe your results will change in, you know,
and then become
year
90% black.
You never know.
But it's definitely quite interesting.
It is. So you went through your 24 hours of identity crisis, and you were like, I'm good. So mentally, where did you settle? Like, I'm still black, or like?
Absolutely. Oh, we know that. We know that whole one drop thing.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. In my case, when you're around a certain group of people, you're not black enough. If you're around a certain group of people, you're not white enough. So it's like, clearly I still get the people know I'm black. I still get the treatment.
You got the pass.
It was how you were raised, really, shapes who you are as an individual. So, I mean, that doesn't change.
No.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. You know, because I'm too much of a chicken to get one.
I'm interested. I'm absolutely interested. I need to know percentages for myself. I know there's Native American, it's African, but I know my great-grandmother was unfortunately raped by an Irish man, so I want to know what is the backstory to that? Like, how do we get there? So I am absolutely interested, so I'll be following in your footsteps.
Yeah. And another cool thing about this, I used to think my dad wasn't my dad for a long time. Like, I don't look like him, nothing like him. And then I guess he took a DNA test by himself sometime, and all these people start to match with you. And I have all these people from other like countries that are like texting me saying, hey, you matched with me, you're my third cousin, want to get to know me? And then you start realizing like, oh my, and then my dad popped up and it was like, ding, ding, 99% parent match. So I found out, yeah, he's my dad. But it'll start to like, oh my God, this could be my cousin in Scotland, or this could be my uncle, you know what I mean? It's quite interesting. I never responded to any of them because my life is just fine the way it is. And you know, it's too many crazy things happening.
You're not ready to meet the new cousins?
No.
Yeah, what if you did find out your grandma's you know, got that, you know, and then their brother or sister wants to meet you because it's
I would be interested in meeting them, though. I really would. I would.
It reminds me of that Lifetime movie, or maybe it was a Netflix special or something like that.
Netflix special.
Where homegirl was living her life over here in America, and there was some DNA test, and she go over to Scotland or some small town where they still have royalty, and she ended up being like, royalty.
Well, maybe you should.
You know, descendant.
Yes, I should. Yes, I should.
And but in a negative way, that one doctor who was a fertility doctor, where he
had,
and they started doing DNA tests, and it came up that he had all these children. So to your point, you know, they start making connections or whatever. You know, you find out you got all this extra family. But I guess the other question I want to ask you is, does it make you want to dig into your ancestry and dissect it a little bit more? Like,
it makes me want to be more open-minded to all the other cultures that I have ignored, that I've been so focused on. I'm black. I was like, well, what else? It just made me want to learn more about who I am.
That's rational. I like it. Okay. Well, lovely. We would love to hear what we would love to hear what your results have to say. And on another note, happy birthday. Oops. That don't fit.
We'll cut that out.
So excited to see what those results are going to look like, and yours as well.
Thank you.
So changing gears just a little bit.
Oh my God.
Did he do it?
Child, we don't
What
know.
did he do it?
Did he?
Yeah.
We don't
Did he
know.
do
Did he
it?
do it?
Did he
Did he do it?
do it?
Did he?
Did he
He
do it?
been
I don't
suspect
know.
before
We
it
don't
even
know.
came up though. I mean, it's been a lot of suspect with him.
What?
You know, it's been suspect around Kim. It's been suspect around
You talking
Al.
about Kim Porter?
Yes.
It's been
Okay.
suspect with Mace. It's been
Yeah, I did
suspect
hear
with
that
Tupac, with Biggie.
Bentley,
I mean, you know,
this the
his
big- what's his name?
name has
Oh,
been
Mr.
tingling and ringling.
Mr. Bentley.
Tingling and
Yeah,
ringling.
where is
That's
Mr.
right.
Bentley? Is he still
What's his
here? Is he
name?
on the earth?
Farnsworth.
yeah.
Farnsworth Bentley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where he at?
Because he knows all the
They
secrets.
saying he.
Yeah.
I guess at some point he gonna come out at some point.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm ready to hear Mr. Bentley. What he has
Right,
to say
because that
about
was
him.
his personal butler. He got to have all the
Yeah.
tea.
He
All
held
the
the
juice.
umbrella.
And he
bought
might have.
everything
He
was
might have
happening.
been part of the tea.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because what they
Oh,
say
no.
is something. You can't allegedly, you know.
Well, what they say?
Well,
on
what they
TV.
allegedly saying?
Can we really say what they allegedly
know.
said? Because I don't know if it's politically correct, but you know, they were like Farnsworth was, you know,
He was that one.
he was
He was the
his
partner
butler.
in crime.
Okay.
No,
his butler.
Mhm.
Oh,
well.
Butler. I
Okay.
Say
But
less.
do we allegedly?
Hey,
Allegedly.
See,
Allegedly.
the way he
Allegedly.
danced and you know, I don't know.
Didn't he have an album? A song?
Did
I think he had a
Yeah.
song.
Wow.
Yeah. It was great. Oh, you
Was
enjoyed
it?
that, did you?
I never heard it.
Good to know. Good to know.
Production is
I
going
thought he came out with a
crazy.
line of umbrellas or something.
I would have
too.
loved to have a Mr. Bentley umbrella.
Yeah.
But I heard Cassie is now actually working with the investigation. Although I thought once she took
Her
that
money.
that she was not able to do stuff like that. But I heard she's involved with
Actively.
the
Yeah.
investigation, which is woo.
Well, she's back on top now.
I want to know how his
No pun
children
intended.
feel
Yeah.
about all of this.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I want to know how this is affecting
Well,
them.
a couple of them got detained when those raids went down briefly. So I don't know. I'm sure there will be continuous conversations going on. I mean, more to come.
Yeah.
This is probably going to drag out for a while.
Possibly years.
Can I
Yeah.
say something though? And I know this is not everybody's not unpopular opinion. I don't like the way they went through his house. I don't like the way that they pulled, like in the kids' room, pulling out all their clothes. Like there's so many names that have been on these lists that we haven't seen people going in there. You would think he was
Epstein.
Tony Montana, like the way,
Yeah.
like he had
Yeah.
cocaine and
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
way they did that to me seems so. I don't know. There's something to this.
The guy from the Disney thing. Now,
Drake Bell?
did y'all
No,
watch the
Oh,
I
not-
did
not
start
Nickelodeon.
watching
Growing Up
it.
Disney?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, now
forgot
that
his
man
name.
should be. Is he still around? Is he still alive?
I don't know, but
I
they.
think he's still alive.
And they're not. I mean, didn't the one young lady have to have an abortion by him?
Oh my God.
You know, who was on
Wow.
his show?
Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
No, y'all talking about Nickelodeon, not Disney.
You
Yeah,
talking
I'm
about
sorry. Yeah, we
Nickelodeon.
talking about
Dan
Nickelodeon.
Schneider.
Yeah, but I feel like
What's his name, Dan Schneider?
it's always the overlay for the underplay. When they put one person big up in highlights, they're
Everybody's
used to
coming
hide
out.
somebody
Something
else.
else.
Because you
going
know
on,
what
for
else I
sure.
found? I saw last night skimming through channels. There's a documentary about Jared Fogle, the subway guy.
Oh, yeah, I watched that too.
Oh,
There's
Yep,
a
yep.
documentary about him of being a child
This is
predator.
a
So
rabbit
there's
hole. We
just-
can go for
It's a
days.
rabbit hole.
my
It's a
God.
It's
rabbit
just
hole.
everything is just coming out.
Yeah,
Everybody's
coming
being
out.
exposed.
This
Yep.
year,
Yep. He's a-
2024.
He is a pedophile.
Yes,
and he
he
is
is.
currently serving a 15-year sentence.
That
Well,
is
very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Can he get
just
more?
15?
Can he get
right,
more?
just
Yeah.
15. He was on tape saying how a 9-year-old or 10-year-old girl turned him on. Like he thought that
Yeah.
was hot. So
Same thing with the Nickelodeon thing.
Now, see, the Nickelodeon guy, though, I mean, now, if we were talking about conspiracies, whatever.
uh-oh.
Oh, here you go.
Oh, no,
Uh-oh.
yeah,
We
we
should
won't.
go ahead and do
We
that.
won't. We
We're
won't.
gonna cut you right there.
Oh my God.
So, understanding colorism in the urban community, I think is a phenomenal topic for us to discuss. I think all of us probably have grown up in some aspect or another where we've had experiences with people who didn't look like us or people who did, but they were different shades. And maybe you made fun of the dark-skinned girl or the light-skinned girl. We as children probably didn't understand it, but at its core was colorism. So let's talk about this today so that we can, have an impact on the future and educate
like that.
our listening audience and help them to understand like what this word means, colorism, shadeism, and everything like that. So when you think of someone using that word, that I just gave you what I think of when I think of the word colorism, but when you hear the word colorism, what do you think of?
Well, me myself, it makes me think about Willie Lynch. It takes me back to that only because it was during that time they set a lot of things in place as far as what they expected Black people's lives to be like, and that it would continue like that for years and years and generations to come. And they started it then back with, we're going to put the light-skinned ones in the house. We're going to have the dark ones outside.
Yeah.
So it started that light-skinned, dark-skinned thing where we don't like them. They don't like us, and a lot of it started back in the 1700s, and unfortunately, it is still relevant today.
Unfortunately, it's really the fact because
a lot of those things.
It creates a lot of division amongst us beautiful shades of colored people.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I don't want to get canceled for saying colored people.
I was gonna say, is that politically correct? Is that a proper statement at this
Who knows?
point?
The NAACP is still the C.
the colored.
So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
We
But
are
we
in
have
different
that
shades.
Colored.
But there's also that whole conversation with I can say it, but you can't, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
Okay.
what experiences have any of you had with colorism?
Oh, I have that one. I have that. As a child, I have that situation covered. So in elementary school, I had a teacher. My grades were great. And I had a teacher fail me for the whole semester for a couple of grades. So back in my day, and this might be telling my age, mind your manners. So the book when you go to pass your teacher's desk and all of your grades were in the book?
Yeah.
Okay, so parent-teacher conference. My mother is there, my auntie is there, the teacher is there, I'm there. So my mother's like, well, show me her activity in class. So she turns the book around and the grades are great, right? The teacher looks at my mother and says, just because she has long hair and her complexion is lighter doesn't mean that she gets a pass on everything in life, so she needs to learn this now.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So my mother politely told her, if you come outside and your tires are slick, run back into school, because I'm on your ass. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. At elementary school. So let that sit for a second. As a child.
I hate to ask what color the teacher was.
A few hues darker than me.
See, now that was the part that I wasn't expecting to hear.
She was
But
not.
I had to ask
Me either.
because it be our own people.
It is your own.
It be your own
It's your
people.
own. And I have so many stories, but we're going to leave it at that one where I've dealt with it as a child. We ain't even talk about the adult phase as a child. Because, my hair is locked down now, but I had exceptionally long hair. My grandma used to press it out. And so, therefore, I was that staple, that long hair, light skin girl. And I wasn't even fair.
And that was probably an issue with the teacher herself.
Yes.
And
I'm not even going to give a descriptive of what she looked like because that wouldn't be fair.
Not fair.
It's not fair.
Not fair.
Okay.
Well, we have a professional here with us today that we're going to talk to, who's going to dive deeper into this subject of colorism and equality with us so that we're not up here getting canceled saying things like colored people. She gonna come up here and correct us and give us all the facts. When we come back, we'll be joined by Darlene King-Turner from Life's Journey.
The most suckerest of sucker-ish you've ever done.
Stay with you when I shouldn't have. I let him walk all the way over me. It was so bad.
You know the most suckerest thing I did? I bought a woman a car and I didn't have one. That's the truth. It's
That
the
is
truth.
definitely some sucker shit.
You are listening to the Sucker Stroke Hour.
Sucker.
joined now by Darlene King-Turner, Executive Director of the Michigan Diversity Council, and also the owner and founder and operator of sJourney. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Tam, for having me. This is amazing. Hello, ladies.
Hi,
I'm
welcome,
so glad
welcome.
you're here.
Awesome.
So, Darlene, you've heard a little bit of the conversation that we've been having here today, and we're not experts by far, but you are. And I know that to be true because I've known you for a few years now. So, for the benefit of my co hosts here and our listening audience, will you please tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and how you became a National Diversity Certified Professional?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Tam, for asking me that. So I am Darlene King-Turner. I have been in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion for about 20 years now. Not dating myself, as Lovely was saying earlier. None of y'all business, right? At the end of the day. But my primary role and responsibility really is helping for-profits and nonprofits and individuals navigate through what diversity, equity, and inclusion really is, what racial and social justice really is, and what equity really looks like, not only within a workplace perspective, but within a community perspective. So I've been doing that for, again, about 20 years. And so I hold two roles. I am the CEO of sJourney Training and Consulting, where we primarily focus on government and municipalities, and through as executive director for the Michigan Diversity Council, we focus on for-profit organizations and entities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So
Like
we've
that.
been having a little conversation up here, just speaking from our own experiences, from our feelings, not necessarily 100% fact based, unless they were our experiences that
Right.
were facts in our lives.
Right.
But we would like for you, as the expert, to kind of tap in here, like define colorism for us, and maybe let's talk about how colorism has had an effect on our inner community and our outer community.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, colorism is something that, as Okila was talking about, it's an age-old entity from that perspective, right? And so when I think about colorism, I think about it as a form of prejudice and discrimination.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's really what it is at the end of the day within our own community. Most people think that when they talk about colorism, that it is a monolith to the Black and African American community. And it's not a monolith to the Black and the African American community. I have some colleagues and friends that are a part of the Hispanic community. And so many people don't even realize that there are Afro Latinos, right? That have a huge amount of melanin in their skin. And if you saw them, you would think that they're African American or they're Black, right? Individuals within the community. So colorism happens within a specific ethnic or racial group of individuals. I have some friends from Armenian. And so if they're from the northern region of Armenia, they are very fair-skinned. You would think that they can assimilate to be Caucasian, right? Or to be white folks, right?
Okay.
But if they're from the southern region of Armenia, then their skin tone looks like Okila or Lovely or myself, right? From that perspective. And so colorism is the act of being prejudiced within your own particular ethnicity or group against an individual based upon the color of their skin. So it's not just within our community, it happens globally from that perspective across the country. And so when you think about how does that affect and impact us, it affects us and impacts us on so many different levels and so many different ways from that perspective, that we could be up here for hours and hours and hours really talking about the impacts that colorism has on us as a community, both internally within structured entities and places, or within our own backyard or our next door neighbor, or how about even within our own family, right?
Yes.
Because it impacts us within our own families.
Okay. So asking the question like how it affects us outside of our community, like
Yeah.
is that just kind of like just talking about typical racism or how other people look at the different shades of us or like
Yeah.
when you think about it from the outside community's impact and effect, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when we think about colorism from an external perspective, right? So let's look at the work environment, right? From a corporate perspective, whether it's, a huge corporation or a small nonprofit or, a community organization within that regard. Colorism has always played a role in the ability for people to advance, right? And from that perspective. And so I used the term earlier, assimilation, right? That is something that many individuals, when we start talking about skin tone, right? How do we begin to look at how certain individuals within certain communities, based upon the fairness of their skin, begin to assimilate to the Caucasian community, which usually are in positions of power and authority within our society, in order for them to be able to advance? Just within recent years has diversity, equity, and inclusion been a space where people have the opportunity to say, okay, I am going to be my authentic self. I'm going to wear my hair curly and bushy or I'm going to wear my hair with my, with my dreads, or I'm going to wear however it is that I choose to be. I am going to be authentic.
They just passed the
authentically
law
me.
for that.
It's called the Crown Act, right?
That's
And
right.
so they started the Crown Act in California, right? In order to be able to keep people from discriminating based upon colorism, based upon our ethnic background, based upon who we are and how we represent from that perspective. And so it shows up in our workplaces through name recognition, right? From that perspective.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All day long. When you think about, can I say Sharnita's name, right? Or can I say, whatever that ethnic name may be? If I can't say that particular name, then I may not do this resume. I may throw it, in the trash, or I may throw it in the garbage. It doesn't necessarily mean that that person is African American, but they could be an ethnic person, a person of color from any part of the country or any part of the world. So when you think about it, it shows up from that perspective. It shows up in the perspective of opportunity from mentorship or sponsorship, right? When you start thinking about the ability to be able to be advanced, right? We need to be able to be connected to each other, right? From that perspective. How do those that are in position of power and authority look at us based upon who am I going to sponsor? Meaning who am I going to support and speak to my own networks externally outside of the workplace to help advance you in your position or in your role or within the community through whatever that looks like and whatever that is, opposed to who am I going to mentor? Say if Okila is a, director of HR and I am the CHRO, then how am I going to look at Okila and say, you know what, I want to be able to mentor Okila so that when I leave from a succession planning perspective, then I can help her, opposed to looking at individuals that look like me. So when we think about that from that perspective, from an internal and external perspective, people generally, from an 85% perspective, usually support individuals that look like them, sound like them, and come from where they come from.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to shorten the answers.
Okay.
I don't want to
Not shorten them, but allow us to jump in and
Gotcha.
ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah,
Because I'll keep going.
Yeah. I just want to make sure
Which is
that
good, it's class.
that we get
That's
all the
that's
information
exactly
from
what I
all of
feel
the
like.
questions. So
Yep.
try to go short and strong.
Sure. Okay. All right.
But you answered that very, very thoroughly. Like your
Super thorough.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that wasn't a joke. I mean, I really meant that.
No, because I was actually getting lost in the explanation because I asked the question about the outside, effects, and you just really thoroughly answered that question in regards to, the impact from a HR perspective,
Yes.
the impact from looking at a resume perspective.
Yeah.
And that's where I was gonna go. That's one of the questions that I was gonna ask.
So what I'm saying is, you're doing great. Like, you answered questions that didn't get asked. That was gonna get asked.
Right.
But for cinematic purposes,
They need to ask a question. I got you. Okay. Stop
Which I
me.
do-
Okay.
which I
What was you
do-
about
I
to
do
say,
have another one.
Sabrina?
I was gonna say that there's a lot of really great information, and everybody kind of is soaking it in because those were some of the questions, but we can't assume that the viewer knows that those questions have been answered, right? Even though you might already kind of have it based on what she said. So the question that she's answering makes sense to us in connection, but yeah, definitely still bring the questions up.
Okay.
So that they can be heard and answered.
well,
Heard
if
it,
it's been asked already, don't ask it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
a couple
okay.
questions I'd love
Alright.
to ask.
Yeah, and I have one too.
I feel like
Okay.
there's a few impending on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we back taping or no?
Not,
Yeah.
we about to go back. So you
Okay.
finished that one already.
I'm
finish
done.
that
So
one.
we go. Okay. I'm
You don't
gonna
have to
cut
say
him off.
We're right back.
Help me out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because
Let's go.
I'm gonna, and just to give notice, I'm gonna go off of the story that I told earlier
Yes.
and implement a question
Okay.
concerning that. So then that way,
So who got the next question?
She do.
We're at 9:25.
Huh?
Lovely can have the
Me.
next
Okay,
question.
okay, boom. So we're gonna start with my camera, okay?
Okay.
You hear me, Miguel? Okay, is she in focus good? Okay.
You can look at
Boom.
Lovely.
All right, and action.
So with everything that you've been talking about, and then along the lines of the story that I was telling earlier about me in elementary school, how do you think that we can help the youth growing up right now with colorism? Because I know for me that was traumatic because that diminished the trust that I had with my teacher.
Yeah.
So how do you think that we could spin that for children futuristically?
Yeah. So, that's a great question, Lovely. So when I think about generations in the world right now, we have 5 generations,
Okay.
right? The generations that are from a school age perspective are called Gen Z. That generation doesn't look at color, sexual orientation, gender, race, ethnicity in the way that millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, traditionalists, and beyond look at humanity. And so that is not an issue that they experience from that perspective in the manner in which we experienced it. They are my favorite generation because of that, because they are so accepting of their fellow students and friends and colleagues, no matter from where they came from. And so my hope is that that is the generation that is going to change the societal norms that we have because they don't view people based upon the dimensions of diversity in the same manner that millennials and beyond.
I love that.
Yeah.
I hope that too.
Yeah.
That's wishful thinking.
So I wanted to know, have you, without obviously naming where this happened, if it did, have you experienced where a lighter skinned person is accepted or promoted easier in the workplace than a darker skinned person? And to add to that, where there was less patience used in a situation with a darker complected person as opposed to, have you personally seen it in your...
Yeah, in my line of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it happens every day, right? And it is something that when we start talking about dismantling bias, being both implicit or complicit or intentional or unconscious, right? How do we address and attack those biases that people have against others because of the color of their skin, because of the region of the country that they came from, because of their sexual orientation, right? Because of their hairstyle, right? And so all of that shows up every day in the workplace. And so how do we begin to challenge those traditional norms in order to be able to help people be able to identify their own biases, so then they won't actually embark them on anyone else from that perspective, because they are their own biases that they have. Yeah, so I see it every day.
I also wanted to know, in your opinion, I hear, I don't know how factual this is, but over like in Europe, light skin, dark skin, black, white, everybody appears to be in harmony. They don't really judge people. Why do you feel like, just in your opinion, America is so obsessed with shades and you're light, you're dark, you're black, you're white? We're over there, it's like, look, I like you, you like me, or I like him, and they're all like, why are we so obsessed with it?
Yeah, it goes back to slavery in America. I mean, it's just what it is. It goes back to our historical context, right? And the constructs of how America was built and designed. You know, when the colonizers came from those places, from Spain and from, Poland and from, Europe and all of those places, right? From that perspective.
Polish ancestors.
Sorry, right? You know what I mean? Excuse me. But when they came, that was their natural intent, right? Was to separate and conquer and divide, right?
It's a whole book.
It's
a whole book.
1619 Project. If you don't know about it, you need to read it. You know what I mean? And so it is literally, it was designed this way. America was designed on separation, colorism, slavery, to create wealth for one particular group of people. And so that is just what the historical context is. So that is why colorism, the wealth gap, all of those things exist.
And I think that historically, though, like I went to the Holocaust Museum in DC, and I saw this exhibit of, it was like they were talking about Hitler and all of the education materials that they would put out there for the children that grew up during that time. And there was a chart that and scientific methods that they followed to identify races. And so obviously it started with, a pure white man here, and down here you had this black, almost primal looking man. And then they did tests on your eye, they judged you by your eye color, your hair color, and all these different shades. So this is not really new, and I don't think it's isolated to America. I think it's transitioned over time, to your point. And with the Gen Zers, Gen Zers, right? That's the kids at school right now. They are going to change the world.
They are.
They are going to change how people look at each other.
They are.
And hopefully, this institution of racism dies with, these older generations.
But here's my concern with that, because there's a saying that history repeats itself. I feel like this Gen Z, the good that comes with the bad of that, yes, I do see them all just in harmony, right? But I also don't think they truly understand what happened and where this stuff started. And if you don't know, if it starts to happen again, you're not going to recognize it. And so that's my thing. I wonder.
The new racism is wealth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, classism.
I just wonder. That's going to be the new racism.
Yeah, I just wonder if things will be forgotten with this new harmony of, everybody just accepting everybody for everybody. But do they know
the historical context?
Is that important?
Right? Is that important? It is important. It's so important that you have individuals in other states creating legislation like, the anti-woke legislation, in order to be able to create areas and spaces where history is not taught, right? People need to know where they come from in order to know where they need to be able to go, right? From that perspective. So it is a concern. It is something that's a concern historically, globally, nationally, ethnically. It's a concern for us. And so it is going to be even more of a job for us as people of color and as Black people and as African Americans to really be able to say, how do I ensure that my children and my grandchildren really know what the real truth is? Because otherwise you're going to be operating on a lie, right? And operating blindly from that perspective.
Yeah, especially since you remember, what's that movie where they burn the books and now you just gotta rely on
I was just about to bring up
Yeah.
something about books because I know there is a situation where they're trying to get rid of books.
That's the anti-woke
Jeez,
legislation that is happening and is taking place in Florida, right?
That's the
And
yeah.
anti-DE&I, Texas and Utah.
Okay.
And just about 2 weeks ago, the state of Alabama just joined on. So what it's doing is creating opportunities for things like colorism, right? The division and the divide of, Black folks, white folks. How do we really begin to continue to push the needle and push the initiative of what is the historical context and constructs of what we have done as a people within this country, right? What our relevance is and our contributions are from all areas, from philanthropic to financial to community to government, biblical, right? Along the way, how do we continue to create and ensure that our stories and our narratives are there, but then we collectively as a people, right, have to begin to say, I don't care what shade you are, you still my sister.
That's
right?
right.
You still my
Absolutely.
brother.
Right.
Is that like us understanding colorism and creating some form of equality? How do we understand colorism from a equality standpoint?
Yeah. Colorism from an equality standpoint is huge in the regard that, like earlier I talked about assimilation, right? And the ability for some individuals within their own ethnic groups to want to have the desire to assimilate so that they can, quote unquote, escape the prejudice, right? And escape the prejudice, right? But at the end of the day, you're not going to escape it because there are systemic and institutional systems that have been put into play, that are still into play from 400 years ago, that were originally designed to keep us from having equal opportunity, right?
And they're still working.
And they're still working, right? They're still working.
Right.
2 days ago, there was a report that came out that talked about individuals that suffer, specifically Black people, that suffer from kidney disease and how the test in order to get a kidney transplant was designed to eliminate Black people from getting the kidney transplant.
What?
Eliminate Black people, and it is a test that has been in existence. There are 14,000 Black and African American people on the list for a kidney transplant, and they haven't been able to obtain one. And those have died because the tests that they use to check to see if you are capable of matching with a donor automatically eliminated you.
So we can get deep into this now, but the question was around equality.
But that's the whole point, though.
Yes.
So, and that's the whole piece, though. And so, when you have systems that are set into play against individuals based upon the color of their skin,
Through the government.
do we ever really have the ability to reach equality? So that is why it is so very important for us to be able to lobby at legislative levels to challenge policies and procedures that have unequal wording and opportunities within those policies and those procedures based upon your dimensions of diversity, whether it's race or gender or ethnicity or age. There's a multiplicity of things, right? So colorism plays a role in the whole equal and equality piece. You hear many individuals talk about, I want to try to get a loan for my business or my house, but I wasn't able to, right? So how do we begin to challenge, again, those individuals that are in positions of power and authority, policies and procedures and practices, biases and discrimination, and in order to be able to create opportunities for individuals not based upon
Now, I've
color.
heard you personally, give definitions between the difference of equity,
Mm-hmm.
and equality.
Yeah.
So for the purposes of this listening audience, tell us about the difference between equity and equality.
That's a great question, Tam. So equality is giving everyone the exact same thing. When we think about Dr. Martin Luther King, he was fighting for equality. He wasn't fighting for equity. He was fighting for everyone to have the opportunity to go into a store, a restaurant, a school, period. We wanted the basics.
Yeah.
The
Right?
basics.
Equity is giving people what they need in order to be successful. So that's something very totally different, right?
Yeah.
Because Lauren may need a $50,000 loan, right? And a business plan, right? In order for her to be able to advance her business and her career. But Lovely may not need a business plan, and she already has a building and she already has the revenue coming in, but she need to do a build out for her new business. So she need $100,000, right? So if I just give Lauren $100,000 and she don't have a business plan, she doesn't have a business license, right? How is that going to really help her along the way? So equity is giving people what they need in order to be successful. Equality is giving everyone the exact
The
same
best
thing.
illustration that I've seen, and I think you might have been the one that shared it with me, is like 3 kids standing at a baseball field looking over a fence, and they're
I've
all
seen that.
different heights, right?
Yeah.
I've seen
So
that.
they all don't need the same size box to stand on in order to see the game over the fence.
Yeah.
They each need boxes at different levels so that they can have equal viewing, and that's equity.
So where do we start to educate individuals?
Yeah. It is about, using Tam's analogy, right? About those children standing on having the different levels of boxes, right? From that perspective. But what didn't change was the fence and the ground. The fence was still a barrier. So those are the systemic and the policy and the institutional systems that are there, right? The ground within itself is still there from that perspective. It is about how do we begin to dismantle the fence,
Okay.
right?
So you say I feel like, it starts with us, right? And from what you've said, and we haven't really chatted about this, I wanted to know your opinion on the role that our men play in this colorism thing within our community and what they do, especially when they get to certain levels of success and the women that they choose. How do you feel like that plays a role in just us?
You mean Black men specifically?
Black men specifically.
I mean,
right?
our men in
men.
our community, because
In
it
our
starts with us
community.
if we want to make a difference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like the role of our men and the people they choose and how they treat? I've had men say, I need a light skin, like the first thing they say when they describe, what do you want? What do you like? I like light skin, long hair, or they get to a certain level of success and the first thing they want to do, trade that girl in, get them a light skin, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It is still, it is still colorism, right? And so when we think about it, it used to be, I want a light-skinned Black woman. Now it's, I want a white woman. Let's just call it what
I
it
was
is.
gonna,
All
I was
right,
wondering
all right.
where you're gonna
You're right.
segue into
Our
that.
sisters are doing it too. It's
You're right.
going both ways.
It's going both ways a
It's
little bit
going-
right now, right?
Okay.
And so it goes back into following status. It goes back into elitism. Right? When we need to talk about that within our own community as well. It's like, I've arrived, right? I have a 6-figure, 7-figure income. I drive a Bentley Beamer or a Benz, right? I live in a certain zip code and the area code. So I need to have that in order to show that I arrived.
Because 50 years ago, you got killed for that.
You got killed for that.
You got
baby.
killed for that.
They didn't play that,
Okay,
did they, right?
I think to me, I always felt like it was a lot of people want what they know is like taboo. Like the fact that, hey, people got hung for doing this.
Yeah.
People died for this.
doing this.
Villages got swept away, all because he whistled at a white woman.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so now you get a chance to have one.
Yeah, now you get a chance to have one. And
this got
that
heavy.
is such an amazing, amazing analogy. And so then it falls back into assimilation, right? I've arrived, right? I've forgotten where I come from. And the most dangerous individual in any community, especially ours, is those that fall within elitism and that assimilates to another race or another culture.
All
We
right
just
now.
that we're gonna let that preach and breathe for a moment. Cause that was a lot. So when we come back, we're going to really get us all canceled. No,
Please don't.
No, I'm gonna stop putting that, manifesting that, putting that out there. But no, we're gonna keep it real. We're gonna play a game, and we're going to call it Guess Who, based on clues that Darlene gives us about this individual. We'll be right back. Okay, so remember that game, Guess Who? Where you had to describe the character and I had to tell you their name or who they were, and then you flipped that character down. So we're going to play an adaptation of Guess Who, and Darlene is going to give us the description, and we're going to try and guess the identity of this person.
Right.
Awesome.
Okay. So
Okay.
Okay. Let's
Okay.
ready?
I guess
Ready.
All right. She's like, So I'm going to give you 5 quick descriptors. Overseer of a project team, went to MIT, graduated at the top of their class, rides a bike to work and analyzes data.
Is he a white man? Is that how the game goes?
I want to say Indian man.
Does he have red hair?
Between those.
Does he wear glasses? Ain't that y'all not playing along?
Okay, I'm sorry.
So what I'm supposed to guess?
I don't know.
That's why I'm like, are
So
you
he
guessing
rode
a
that
race?
bike. Okay, somebody riding
supposed to
a
guess his
bike.
race?
You
They
said
have-
Is
right.
it
If you said
race?
riding a bike, I already know who it is.
It's a black guy.
It's a
Is
Caucasian
his name
guy.
Paul?
No, it's
Y'all
it's
not playing.
Paul.
Show us the picture.
Yeah.
Show the picture.
So not accurate. So not accurate.
Yes,
Okay.
so very
So not
accurate.
I'll
So
take
do we
that.
tell them who that is, or they show
You
it?
gonna show the
They're
picture?
gonna show it.
Yeah, we're gonna show.
Okay.
All right.
No.
All right. All
This
right.
one
It is
is
a
not
black
accurate.
man.
How's that accurate?
It's not accurate at all.
She's the one who came up with these profiles from people
Oh
that she
my
has
God.
Yes.
information about.
Okay.
Ah, let me see.
Absolutely.
Right. Camera, Miguel.
Okay.
These real people.
All right.
I mean, his
Right,
picture
and
might not
never-
be
all
real,
right,
but these are.
Owns 200 acres in the Middle East. Has a business in America. Funds a school in the Congo. Owns a cargo ship. And is the president of their company.
My boyfriend.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay.
Jewish man.
It's one of those.
Jewish man.
One of those made me feel like this is a woman,
Mm.
Oh.
and I think it was the third down. Can you go back and say it
Yeah,
again?
I sure can. Owns 200 acres in the Middle East.
Okay.
Has a business in America.
Okay.
Funds a school in the Congo.
That's what makes me feel like it's a woman.
Owns
That.
a cargo ship and is the president of their
Ooh.
company.
Oprah.
That makes me
cargo
feel like
ship.
it's a woman. I don't know
The
the
cargo
ethnicity,
ship.
I get that.
but I feel like that's a woman.
Ethnicity.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Caucasian.
Indian
Caucasian
woman.
guy
Yep.
from Hollywood.
I'll say an Indian woman.
Really?
I'll say that, but I feel
Caucasian
like it's a
guy
woman.
From
I'm saying
India.
Jewish
Caucasian
man.
guy.
I say
He
it's a
lives in
woman
Hollywood.
for sure.
A Caucasian guy lives in Hollywood.
You said
a
the cargo
woman,
ship.
a what-
Jewish man.
Jewish man.
Indian woman.
That's what I
Indian
said.
From
woman.
India.
All right, from India.
What is
Let's go.
Let's go,
Okay. Okay, on the woman.
Okay, so where are you
on
getting
the
these
woman,
from?
though.
I see
Yeah.
You know
It's
these people?
one or the other.
You know these people.
I know these
You need to
profiles
introduce
of
her to
these
one of these.
individuals.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
These
Next.
are one-offs,
All
right?
right.
good.
We got 3 more. Come on.
I'm
Okay,
feeling good.
okay. So let's go. Works in the inner city. Speaks Spanish. Families are their main clientele. Has high emotional intelligence. And institutional systems are embedded in their work.
That's
Oh,
a man.
Lord, I'm not about to say what I
That's
I'm not.
That's a white man.
I was going to say
Asian.
Is it?
Mexican,
I say a man.
Latino from Southwest Detroit. is it?
So you say what now?
'Cause I'm
Latino
thinking
from
Spanish
Southwest.
is the second
You say what?
language.
I want to go back to the Indian man.
Indian man. That's what you going back to. Indian man.
I'm saying.
Okay, look who you say.
I'm saying a white man.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that too.
You both of them. All right. Let's see.
Get
Okay, so here's my question because I have to very quickly. Why? Why white man? What was it?
Okay, name the stuff again. Because it was something
Works in the inner city, speaks Spanish, families are their clientele, has high emotional intelligence, and institutional systems are embedded in their work.
It's the high emotional intelligence and works in the inner city for me.
The institution.
It's an institution
Because
systems are embedded in their work.
Certain people, they about that institutionalization.
Come on, Kayla.
I'm just saying.
Oh my
that
God.
It instantly.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Okay.
And because, unfortunately, majority of Black America do not know a second language. Unfortunately, we do not make that a priority.
All right, she done went all the way there. So let's go with the fourth one.
Okay, come on.
Fourth one. Challenges institutional and systemic systems, lobbies federal policies, is a community organizer, audits EEOC and affirmative action policies, testifies in court on behalf of defendants.
An
Caucasian
man.
Caucasian.
Caucasian.
White woman.
White woman.
A Black man.
An Arabic woman.
Oh, well. Okay, then.
But you don't know just because she has
Okay.
on the hijab that
No.
No, but
yeah.
I'm gonna ride that
She
wave,
Muslim.
baby.
She Muslim.
Okay.
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 Next.
I'm over for it.
Now, what made you? What was it?
List them again.
Why are we
Challenges institutional and systemic systems, lobbies federal policies.
Second one.
Lobbies federal policies.
Yep.
Okay.
Call Jamira.
Jemana.
What?
Shawarma.
You cut off.
Where's she at?
We gonna throw her outside right now.
Okay, so here's the last one.
I'm gonna get one of these right.
Here's the last one.
Okay.
All right.
Lives in Paris
Oh.
and attended primary school there. Has earned the top title as a Michelin chef.
That's a man.
Owns a chain of high-end establishments, and their favorite food is foie gras.
Black woman.
Black woman, foie gras. Foie gras is duck liver, pate.
Mm-hmm. That's a man.
But what kind of, okay, so you say, what you say?
Black woman.
Black woman.
Mm.
Come back to you, Tim?
Yeah. 'Cause
Okay.
I mean, I'm wrong.
Lovely.
Ooh, I know it's a man, but I want to say Irish.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong on that one, but I just want to say man.
She said, I feel whiteness.
I feel white.
The duck liver.
It is.
Oh,
It is. It's the duck.
It is. It is. Just getting a chance to grow up in Paris.
It's me.
Okay.
Sam, it's you. It's a black woman. It's a black woman. All right.
Okay. All right.
What is he?
What is he?
Middle East.
Oh
That's
my
the Indian man.
Okay.
We knew the Indian man was gonna be in there
I
somewhere.
didn't say a man.
Okay.
Cool game.
Awesome.
Is that an Indian
Awesome,
man or
awesome.
But now
Arabic
I feel
man?
like I'm
So
like
what's my
discriminating
prize?
and
What's
all
my
kinds
prize?
of
So,
I
but
stuff.
came
the
out on top
point
on that
of
one.
this
What's my
game,
prize?
though,
You
right?
get the idea of knowing your biases.
Yes, right. Right. That part, too.
We're all winners
We
there.
are winners there. But then also the point of this game is for us to be able to understand that we cannot label people based upon their race, their
Very
gender,
good.
and their
That is
I love
ethnicity.
that.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Okay.
what it really
Excellent.
was about.
That was
Yep.
good.
I love that.
Well, thank you, Darlene,
enjoyed
so
it.
much for bringing all your wealth of knowledge
Thank you.
of diversity. I know it's so many dimensions of diversity
Yeah.
that we could have really gotten into. We kept it simple here today, but tell people where they can reach you if they want to learn more about life's journey.
Yes, you can reach me at Darlene at lifes, LIFES, JTC.com. Hope to see you there.
Thank you for joining us on Every Woman Wednesday. Bye.
I am every woman.